It is hard to believe that just 5 years ago, Virginia won the ACC Coastal Division and made the Orange Bowl. But since that magical season, the Cavaliers are just 17-27 with back-to-back 3-win seasons under Tony Elliott. The pressure is now on for the Cavaliers head coach and the Cavaliers program as a whole. And while they may be drastically improved and way more competitive, I'm afraid it may not show in the win column. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us to break down Virginia's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, some of the best spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers and hitting over 63% of our bets all time. The earlier you sign up, again, the better it is for you. One of the best deals in the country, one of the lowest prices in the country. Go sign up for those today. And check out our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear. We'd love to feature all of your teams here in our background for every single Gridiron Expert video. Do that. You get that shout out. You get it on display. Again, check it out. I got the link for everything down in the description below. So you take a look at Virginia, and I am going to venture to say, I'm going to go out and say that I feel like they are the Nebraska of the ACC. And what I mean by that is that this team, the last few years under Tony Elliott, has been way better than their record has shown. We said back-to-back 3-win seasons. Well, take a look at this. In 2022, his first year at the helm, the Cavaliers had 3 one-possession losses. Easily could have gone from 3-7 to 6-4 that year. Last year, 3-9 for the Cavaliers, had 5 one-possession losses. Easily could have been an 8-win season for the Cavaliers. And yet they went 3-9. This team was better than their record showed last year, but could not get over the hump. And I'm afraid the same fate could be in store this year, considering how difficult their schedule is. Before we show you that, you take a look at what they're bringing back. 8 starters back on offense after averaging just 23 points per game last year. They averaged over 250 through the air, but only 118 on the ground. Tony Elliott's got himself a decision to make. Tony Muskett was going to be the guy last year, but suffered injuries all throughout the season. Anthony Calandria, though, comes in, throws for nearly 2,000 yards and 13 touchdowns, and even set a freshman record at Virginia with 377 passing yards against James Madison, which was one of those one-possession losses. The Cavaliers blew a lead and lost by 1 point to the Dukes. They now lose their top wide receiver in Malik Washington, do add Chris Tyree in from Notre Dame, and do return Malachi Fields, who had over 800 reception yards last year. The entire offensive line returns, which is massive, but who gets the nod at quarterback for the majority of the season and who can stay healthy at quarterback will be huge in determining the amount of success that Virginia has in 2024. You take a look at the defense. 8 starters back on that side of the ball as well. The defense surprisingly got a lot worse. They went from 24 points per game allowed in 2022 to 33.8 points per game allowed in 2023. Nearly a 10-point difference there, and not in the right direction for the Cavaliers. They were horrendous against the run, giving up 185 rushing yards per game, but all those numbers should improve as they return their top 3 tacklers. Their safety, Jonas Sanker, linebacker James Jackson, and another linebacker in Cam Robinson. This is a strong defensive line, really a strong front 7. It's the secondary that could be the one major issue. But again, they have some solid depth back there, and they've got some veterans back there, as we mentioned with Sanker. So this is a team, guys, that I think can be contending for a bowl. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year, but can they find a way to win those close games? We referenced Nebraska. They're like Nebraska. The Cornhuskers were pretty good. The best 3-9 team in history, one would say, just a few years ago. Couldn't get over the hump and win those close games. Can Tony Elliott do it now for the Cavaliers? Take a look at the schedule. We said it was tough, and it is. We think they open with a win against Richmond, but then look at that, 1-0, and then at Wake Forest, Maryland, at Coastal Carolina, and then the bulk of conference play. So their non-conference is brutal. Richmond, okay, but then Maryland, at Coastal Carolina, not easy games at all. Then, Notre Dame later on in November. So 1-0 for the Cavaliers. I think they drop to 1-2 just like that. They will lose on the road to Wake Forest. I like Dave Clawson's coaching over Tony Elliott's coaching any day of the week. And while the Demon Deacons are going through some growing pains of their own, they have a veteran quarterback coming in and Hank Bachmeier transferring in from Louisiana Tech, but very well known for his time at Boise State. They've got Damon Claiborne coming back as well at running back, a very strong, or I'd say relatively strong offensive line, improved offensive line, I should say. The question is, can Virginia stop the run? They couldn't do it last year. I'm afraid this early on in the year, they're not going to be able to do it this year, so they fall to their ACC rival, and then they fall to Maryland Maryland does lose a handful of key pieces from last year's squad, the squad that beat Virginia 42-14, scoring 42 unanswered points, by the way. Cavaliers jumped out to a surprising 14-0 lead, and it was all Terrapins after that. M.J. Morris is in at quarterback for the Terrapins, transferring in from NC State. They've got great weapons at the skill positions and 8 starters back on defense. So even though the Cavaliers get to host this game, Maryland, to me, is much better, much more skilled, much deeper across the board than the Cavaliers are right now. I don't think they lose by 28 by any means, but they're not going to have enough to win. So 1-2, just like that, things are not looking good, and they're not looking good with the road game at Coastal Carolina. I think most people would look at this game and go, whew, it's going to be a loss. I'm here to tell you no. I think it's going to be a win, and here is why. Coastal Carolina is in an interesting state right now. Tim Beck, in his second year with the program as the head coach, they lose their star in Grayson McCall, who transfers to the ACC to quarterback NC State. Their quarterback's either going to be Noah Kim or Ethan Vasco, both capable QBs, but based on what the quarterback play we saw from Virginia last year, I think that one could say they might own the edge there. The Chanticleers lose their top 2 pass catchers. They lose 5 of their top 8 tacklers. I think this Virginia offense, that if they can stay healthy, and I believe they will this early on in the year, that showed signs of promise last year, I think this Virginia offense exploits that Coastal Carolina defense. This Virginia team was very close to beating James Madison this last year. They were very close to beating Louisville last year. This is a team that was able to hang with some really competitive teams, and Coastal Carolina, now kind of in a state of disarray, trying to figure out their identity, young into Tim Beck's career with a lot of key new pieces. I think the Cavaliers get the job done and find a way to win, even though it's on the road. So give me the Cavaliers in a mini upset. They beat Coastal Carolina 2-2 heading into their bye week, and then I think they get above 500. I think they can get above 500 and beat Boston College. Coming off that week of rest, that helps out a lot. Getting Boston College at home, that helps out a lot. This is a team, Virginia, that only lost to BC by 3 last year. Lost by 3 points, 27-24. They allowed 203 rushing yards in that game. The key in this one is shutting down Thomas Castellanos. If you contain him in the pocket, the quarterback for Boston College, if you contain him in the pocket and force him to win the game through the air, Virginia will win this game. New coach in Bill O'Brien for the Eagles, a lot of returning talent, but new schemes, question marks across the board on a couple areas there, primarily I'd say defensively. Virginia can get the job done with home field advantage and off that week of rest. Give me Tony Elliott's squad to win this game by a similar margin, maybe one possession, but they're finally on the right side of a close victory. They are 3-2 heading in to the rest of conference play. That's where it gets tough. If you look at Virginia's schedule, they're not going to start 5-0. It's just not going to happen. But that might be the only way they can flirt with bowl eligibility. Because look at what's after Boston College. Louisville, the ACC runner-up. At Clemson. North Carolina. Then a bye week. At Pittsburgh. At Notre Dame. SMU. At Virginia Tech. You're telling me that 3 of their final 4 games are on the road? None of this is favorable at all. And I'm going to go through it rather quickly for you, and I know you're not going to like this. Virginia is not winning another game after Boston College. It's just not happening. They're losing out. Yes, they hung with Louisville last year. Played them very close. Give them all the credit in the world. 31-24. Had a great shot at upsetting the Cardinals last year, but they were unable to do it. Louisville might be even stronger this year than they were last year. Year 2 under Jeff Brom, reloaded on offense through the transfer portal. That defense is stingy. And while the Cavaliers might be riding a lot of momentum and might get off to a fast start against Louisville, kind of like they did with Maryland last year, the Cardinals will settle in, and they will find a way back, and they will win this game. Louisville simply is too big, too strong, too fast for Virginia to handle for a full 60 minutes. On the road at Clemson, that's self-explanatory. Death Valley, one of the most difficult places to play in the country. The Tigers, arguably the best team in the ACC this year. Virginia not going to be able to hold their own, especially on the road. North Carolina, they've held their own against UNC last year, pulling off a massive upset against the Tar Heels. UNC was number 10 in the country. Virginia was 23.5-point underdogs. They won 31-27. But the defense still wasn't any good. They allowed 347 passing yards in that game. And they're now facing a North Carolina team coming off a bye with a more than capable quarterback in transfer Max Johnson replacing Drake May. Omarion Hampton is still one of the best running backs in the ACC, and Virginia struggled mightily at stopping the run last year, as we mentioned, giving up 185 rushing yards per game. A revenge game for North Carolina that completely derailed their season after losing to Virginia last year. The Tar Heels get their revenge now on the road, and Virginia drops that one. Going into the bye week, they enter the month of November, 3 of those final 4 at home. The most winnable game, in my eyes, is the road game at Pittsburgh, and they're not going to get the job done against the Panthers. Pittsburgh dealing with a new offensive coordinator, and Cade Bell might be a little bit more faster, up-tempo. Can the Virginia defense handle that? I'm going to say no. The Pittsburgh front seven is going to return to form a little bit as well. They were very disappointing last year in a 3-9 season. I think they're a little bit better this year. Might not make a bowl game, but certainly more competitive. Pittsburgh gets the win with home field advantage. Unfortunately, Virginia does not stand a chance against Notre Dame in South Bend. The Cavaliers 0-4 all-time against the Fighting Irish, and that defense for Notre Dame is so good. Virginia would find themselves lucky if they can find the end zone in this game. Then they host SMU on Senior Day. SMU's offense way too good for this defense to handle once again. The Mustangs, in their first year in the conference, gonna surprise some people. They've got the talent. You might not think the transition period is going to go well for them, but they've got the talent to seriously contend. I think Virginia gives them a run for their money. I think the game's closer than maybe people expect, but SMU finds a way to pull away late in the second half to win this game. And then on the road at Virginia Tech, where the Cavaliers have lost 18 of the last 19 to their in-state rival. They have not won in Blacksburg since 1998. They got torched by the Hokies 55-17 last year. Virginia Tech owns the series. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it, and it's not going to change this year. It's going to be 19 of the last 20 for the Hokies, the team that returns the most production in all of college football this year. With home field advantage, it could be just as ugly as it was last year, I'm afraid. So Virginia is going to go 3-9 again. That's what we've got. We're calling for a third straight 3-win season for the Cavaliers. The unfortunate thing is that this team is better than last year, right? This is a team that I think could hang with Wake Forest. They can hang with Maryland. They could hang with SMU for a little bit. They can maybe hang with Pittsburgh. There's winnable games on the schedule, but the schedule ultimately is too tough, and all these teams are simply, in the long run, too good, and they're going to wear down Virginia as time goes on. Starting off strong is great, but can you play a full 60 minutes? I'm afraid the Cavaliers will not find a way to do that. They might win a game here and there that maybe they shouldn't. I think at best 5-7. That's at best. To me, still not good enough to go bowling. And I'm afraid another losing season will more than likely spell the end of the Tony Elliott era with the Cavaliers. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those expert picks. Do not miss out on those. Go sign up for those today and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.